What up, FGC? This is iZonk. With all the recent discussion about who should make the Street Fighter 6 roster, I've decided to make a short series which will feature 2 characters per episode. I will present their storyline, their overall aesthetics, and my opinion on who should be back. But now it's up to you to let YouTube know. Who do you want back in Street Fighter 6? Well, we're gonna start off the series of comparisons between Guy and Zeku, who are closely intertwined within the story of Street Fighter. Zeku, of course, is the master of Guy, and I think it's pretty clear that if one of these guys makes the base roster of Street Fighter 6, the other one most likely will not make it or be included very late in the lifespan of the game. But we're gonna start off with the lore and the legacy, and Guy is the one who has the large legacy, so we'll start with him. He's a man of Japanese descent who was born in the USA but grew up in Japan. He brawled a lot in the streets, and one day he ambushes a guy that easily denies him, and it turns out that man is Zeku, who invites him to train with him and learn the art of the Bushin Ryu Ninja. Well, Guy accepts, but he fails his entrance exam at university, and that's reason enough for him to leave Japan and go to the USA. Please stay in school, kids. His first appearance is within the Final Fight series, where he helps his friend Cody to save the kidnapped Jessica from the Mad Gear gang, where he defeats the likes of Sodom, Rolento, and Abigail. Also Poison and Yugo, who also will feature in future Street Fighter games. So as the hero of the city, he enters the Alpha series, where he grows a lot as a character. In Alpha 1 he defeats Bison and he finds his inner power. And in Alpha 2 there's a really interesting moment at the end where he once again defeats Bison and he trains under Zeku, and Zeku deems him worthy as his successor. And Zeku and Guy have the duel about who becomes the master of the Bushin Ryu dynasty, and Guy wins. So he becomes the new master, and Zeku warns him about a great evil that's looming over Metro City. And of course, you can already guess what that evil is, because that's once again M. Bison. He's back, and Guy has to fight him again. He tries to save Rose, but it's too late, but he does defeat Bison, but Rose is injured and Bison attached part of his spirit to Rose, or don't ask too many questions, but of course Bison will continue to live. But one of the more interesting things about the Alpha series is that during the series, Guy kind of feels estranged from his friend Cody, because Cody only fights to fight. He lost his sense of justice and his wanting to live. So Guy kind of struggles because he feels like he's losing his friend. So in Street Fighter 4, Guy once again saves Rose from Bison on the top of an airplane, and he does meet up with Cody, and he starts to accept that Cody is still a good guy and is still his friend. He just has different motives than him, and Guy starts to accept that and moves on. In the meanwhile, Zeku is introduced into the series in Street Fighter 5, and he's just there for comic relief. His story is really lame. He looks for a new fighting style, but he gets rejected by Ibuki, he gets rejected by Karin, and it's hinted that there's a new group he's gonna start, and he's gonna name it Striders, which is a nice wink to the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise. But overall, it's pretty clear that Zeku's lore is nothing, and Guy has a large legacy, so he blows that one out of the water. If we look at the tools and aesthetics of these characters, we're gonna start with Zeku, because Zeku is one of the most unique creations ever in Street Fighter. There has never been a character that gives the player as much freedom as Zeku. He basically consists of 2 characters in one, and you are free to switch between them whenever you please. Old Zeku is more of a slow zoning character with long range and an invincible anti-air, and young Zeku is a fast footsie style character, and he actually resembles the design of Guy. There's definitely a lot of overlap between young Zeku and Guy, and that's also the reason that if one of these characters makes it, the other one probably will not make it or will enter really late in the lifespan. So when we take a look at Guy, we see a man who wears a traditional Japanese gi, and he combines that with American sneakers, which is a strange, contradicting style, but it really fits him because of the lore. It does make sense because he is a Japanese guy who was born in the USA, who lived in Japan but came back to the USA and had a lot of adventures there, and he does feel commitments to his friends who are also American. So I think that's a really cool touch to give him the Nike sneakers. So judging by aesthetics and toolkit, I think Zeku blows him out of the water, and it's clearly a 1-1 over here. So I hope Zeku returns because he's the more interesting design character, but I think Guy is the one who's gonna return. It's way more likely with the legacy he already has. So if you are the boss at Capcom, who of these two would you put on the roster? Let me know in the comments and I'll start working on the next video. Peace.